1999, Morpheus offered Neo a choice between a red pill and a blue pill. In 2018, this country fractured between red and blue. In 2022, I'm here to tell you that if you really want the truth, more voters are neither red or blue. Yet, they have no representation, no choice, and no options. They have to choose between candidates chosen by the red people or the blue people. I'm David Esrati, and I'm running for Congress as an American, as in red, white, and blue. I'm a veteran, an activist, and a small businessman. I'm asking you to join me in reminding the professional politicians in Congress who their bosses are. I support ranked choice voting, campaign finance reform, and a verified voter information system, all so we can stop having the best politicians money can buy. It's time to elect a veteran who will work for you, no matter what color they want to label you. Please go to electesrati.com and learn more. I'm David Esrati, and I approve this message. In Jurassic Park, you thought those little baby dinosaurs were cute until they turned into out-of-control carnivores. That's sort of what happens to government when we elect people based on very expensive advertising campaigns and propaganda. I'm David Esrati. I'm a veteran and a small businessman running for Congress. You don't want professional ad people and pollsters to sway your vote. All those hot-button issues like gun control, abortion, borders are all politicized to stop you from voting rationally. And thinking rationally seems to be in short supply these days. Most Americans have been voting against their own best self-interest for a long time because we've allowed money to buy our leaders. 1 million Americans died in the last 2 years because our leaders couldn't lead. It wasn't that hard. Mask, distance, test, and then vaccinate. In an instant, we had billions to spend on healthcare for COVID, when for years we've been told we can't provide healthcare for everyone equally in this country. That's an unintended consequence of the pandemic. If you think about it, our government can pretty much do whatever it wants, or what the people who buy our politicians tell our leaders to do. We also had a ton of money to prop up businesses. And next thing you know, it turns out that a living wage was not only possible, but necessary. As a small businessman who won't sell you out to corporate interests and lobbyists, I can tell you that it's time to fully understand the consequences of companies like Amazon, Facebook, and Google and their effect on small business, and to remind you that small business is the #1 creator of jobs in this country. So this next election, don't trust this ad or any other political ad. Do your homework and think before you vote. It's time to put this ad man in Congress because I know that the best advertising is based on the truth, not the size of the budget or payola. Or you can just vote based on who has the money to buy their way into Congress and live with the consequences. I'm David Esrati, and I approve this message. Hi, this is David Esrati, and welcome to my town hall live stream. This is my way of meeting with constituents. Something Mike Turner doesn't do, doesn't want to do, hasn't done, and won't do. So here's your choices. Come this next election, you can vote for Mike Turner, who won't meet with you, who won't interact with you, who won't allow you to have an abortion, won't allow you access to birth control pills, won't do anything to stop school shootings, etc., but will help anybody who wants to create a more expensive weapon system get all your tax dollars. That's his thing. He gets a lot of money to do that. So he's very good at it. Anyway, few ground rules here. If you want to participate, you can comment. You can call me names, although that's kind of frowned upon if there's not a real question. You can't call other people names in the comments. You can't keep hammering away at the comments, one comment after another. You do 3 in a row, you're out of here. Doesn't matter what you're trying to do, but that's it. The other thing is we're sticking to a subject. Today we're talking about elections, voting, how it could be improved. We're going to talk about ranked choice voting. I hope all this works out so that, one, next time you have to go to the polls, you make sure you're part of the process and that your voices get heard. Okay? Because unfortunately, some people don't understand this is how our system works. If you don't like what the Supreme Court did, the only way to really fix it is to elect a whole bunch of Democrats to Congress and to overrule the Supreme Court with a constitutional amendment or new laws that are nationwide that protect the right of abortion. All right, so getting started. Who picks the people on the ballot? How do you get on the ballot? Well, that's an interesting question because in Ohio, it's different than in other places, but basically, to get on the ballot to run for Congress, you can run as a Democrat or a Republican and only need 50 signatures of registered voters. That's it. They have to be either Democrats or unclassified. That is a question that you have to understand is kind of funky because the way you become a Democrat is by voting in a primary. And it has to be a recent one or they don't really count you. So if you don't vote in any primaries and don't get either a Democratic or Republican ballot, you are unclassified. And you could become one when you vote in the next primary so you can sign the petition. But if you voted in the last election as, say, a Republican, you can't sign the Democrat's petition. So you need 50 signatures. What happens if you're not a Democrat or a Republican? You want to be one of those independents or a libertarian or a green or a national socialist or, any of those things. Well, the standard goes way up, something like 2,000, 3,000 signatures. And let me tell you something. They go over these signatures of people who aren't party insiders with a fine-tooth comb. They find every way they can to eliminate people from the ballot. And who's they? Well, in the state of Ohio, we only elect one person to oversee elections. That's the Secretary of State. Everybody else in charge of the process is actually put in charge by the two parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. Each county has a board of elections, and they have one employee of each party for every position. So it's built-in duplication, and this is supposed to make sure that everything's fair and honest. Never mind the fact that number of Democrats, number of Republicans compared to the number of people who haven't chosen either. The unclassifieds outperform, there's way more of them than there are Democrats or Republicans. So those people, those party insiders are the ones that decide whether you get on the ballot or not, whether your signatures are good. And that gets you into a situation for a primary. Now, primaries are totally unnecessary unless there are more than one candidate for the party. So there are two Democrats running for the same seat or two Republicans running for the same seat. So we have this stupid election. It was supposed to be in March for state reps and for Congress, or May, it was May this year. It switches. And unfortunately, this redistricting commission didn't figure things out. And so there's going to be one in August where, guess what? A lot of you won't even have anybody on the ballot, but you're expected to go vote on August 2nd. Very costly, caused by Republicans who refuse to conform with the law to make sure that the districts, the gerrymans, are fair and balanced. They're not. It's all going to court. My congressional district is already decided for this cycle, but next cycle it will change. But the idea is to narrow down the field. So in my primary, there were 4 candidates, and now there's 1. I won. Does that make me the Democratic candidate? Oh, yes, it does. Does that mean I'm endorsed by the Montgomery County Democratic Party? Well, according to Mohammed Al-Hamdani, who's the newly elected county chairman, no, that does not mean I'm endorsed by Democratic Party because the Democratic Party operates separately from all those people who voted in the primary. They don't count. No, the party has to have its own election, but first they have to get a constitution. Then they have to decide how they're going to endorse. So I am not the endorsed candidate, and we won't know until at the earliest, July 28th, which is next week. Anyways, Tyler Griffin, hey, welcome. Don't put 3 comments in a row, okay? So you got to wait till somebody else comes in before you say anything else, okay? John Miller, thank you for joining us. Why am I not listed on the Ohio Democratic Party website? Well, there are 3 of us not listed. There were 4. Apparently, they didn't think the woman running against Jim Jordan was worthy of their support. And I've got to say, if Jim Jordan isn't as close to the Antichrist as they come, I don't know what is. But this party is a weird party. They don't work the same as most parties. They're not interested in truly electing Democrats. They're interested in electing the friends and family. Hi, Nick. Welcome. We're not talking about that today. So we're talking about elections. And if you want to bring that subject up, you can put it in comments. And we'll move on from there. Anyways, and I'd be happy to discuss why your boss should know why you shouldn't be employed, saying something very negative about veterans. But hey, we'll stick to the subject. Anyway, so when we have a primary, very few people turn out. Usually they are the party faithful. The party faithful are typically older voters. They're the people who are most engaged, been doing this a long time. A lot of younger voters don't even know that primaries exist or what happens. Plus, there's one thing that sort of gets people not that interested in primaries. For instance, why do the states of Iowa and New Hampshire get to pick presidential primaries before the rest of us? And by the time we get around to voting here in Ohio, the field might be narrowed down to just one person like it was last time, from 14 down to 1. I couldn't vote for Pete Buttigieg for president because he was already out of it. I couldn't vote for Kamala Harris. I couldn't vote for any of the other candidates. It was Biden or bust. So that's how a tiny minority of voters, both locally and nationally, say that your vote, people are picking for you. Well, we got Bob Woodward here. I'm sure it's not the Bob Woodward that's the real journalist. And you want to know something? I can say lots of negative things about lots of people, and it's protected by the First Amendment. You can say lots of negative things about me. What you are voting for is somebody who's going to go to Congress and make sure that abortion is still legal, that there's some matter of gun control in this country, that small businesses don't get screwed by big businesses, that healthcare for all becomes a reality. Those are the things that are important to me. But if they're not important to you, go ahead and vote for Mike Turner, okay? How's that, Bob? So, anyways, we're talking about elections, and we can say goodbye to Mr. Woodward here pretty soon if he wants to continue with his ranting. We're sticking on subject. Nick can get his thing somewhere else. So, you know, getting a choice between red pill, blue pill, I don't like it either. I think it's pretty rotten. I also think we've got a severe problem in figuring out how people are educated about candidates and their positions. Because right now, it's basically one of how much money do you raise to put up worthless yard signs, to put, Bob, we've got a thing. You can't say 3 comments in a row and stick around. I said it specifically. You have to wait for somebody else to come in. So you're breaking that rule. So you're going bye-bye. You can come back some other time with another fake screen name, okay? So, you know, Turner has only debated anybody who's run against him one time. He's skipped quite a few of them. Basically, you have to raise $500,000 before you get a debate from Mike Turner. That is not really good, because debates aren't the same as the Lincoln-Douglas debate, which went on for hours. It's not they're not substantive anymore. They're more like forums where moderators ask a question and you get a snippet. It's not the candidates asking each other questions. It's somebody in between. And that's not really good either. One of the things I proposed is an actual test. Now, this could be voluntary. You take the test as a candidate, and voters take the test as voters, and they rank things as what's important and what's not important. So you can ask a question like, do you think abortion should be illegal in all 50 states? I would say yes. Turner would say no. You would say yes. Your answer, how important is this to you? You would say very, and bingo, I would get score on my part. If the candidate doesn't want to answer those questions, that should tell you something. It's a lot like a dating site, and there's another site called I Side With that does this very same thing, but only for presidential candidates. I believe we need that all the way down. So now we're going to get to the part about how ranked choice voting works. And ranked choice means you can have a whole bunch of candidates and you get to choose which ones you like and rank them number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. And there could be as many as 20 or 25. It can get overwhelming. So a lot of people actually only vote for the top 2 or 3 and then they don't care about the rest, or top 5. And then the votes get tallied. Now, sometimes this gets co-opted and gets screwed around with where they actually make it for a primary and then go to a general, which is one against the other. No, the real purpose is to have one election and do away with the primary altogether. So, in a ranked choice system, I'm going to ask my assistant here to put up the first slide to show you what happens when we vote in a ranked choice election. And we've got 4 candidates here. And you see the first one got 475, the second one got 300, the third one got 175, the fourth got 75. Nobody has a majority here. Nobody has 50%. So what happens now is we then take the people who voted first for candidate D and we eliminate them. And those 75 votes, let's say 50 of them went to candidate A. Let's go to the next slide. And boom, you see that candidate A now has 525 votes, which is a plurality of 51.22. Candidate B comes in at 325, candidate C comes in at 175, and you've decided a winner. Now, this was a simplified one because there were only 4, and we said that candidate D had 50, picking candidate A as number 2. It can get a lot more complicated than that. So, we need to take a look at this system some more, but let me catch up on comments here. Important statement.
They're just talking to each other.
All right, you guys are talking to yourselves, not to me. Thank you. So, why are people getting deleted? Because we've had children overrun this channel, Mr. Miller, who want to make it about them and not ask questions and not stick to the subject. I'm more than happy to address some of these things. In fact, I addressed something, part of this yesterday. It doesn't matter. What we have is children. Some of them who aren't even registered to vote here. Okay? So if you want to partake in the political process, the first thing is make sure you're registered. Got to have that registration to actually be involved. So back to ranked choice voting. There comes a problem when most people show up at the ballot and they see people's names and things they weren't even aware that were going to be on the ballot. That is troublesome. Either they've been handed a slate card as they go in saying, this is the Democratic Party slate card and you should just vote all the way down, or they've done research, or they don't know who it is, or somebody's on a post and they just don't vote. That's never good. If we do mail-in ballots, which they have done in the state of Oregon, the state of Washington, for a long time, you can have time to sit at home and research your candidates and think extensively about who you want to rank in which position and go take a look. Now, this would be even better if when you actually get on the ballot, you have to fill out a survey, you have to answer questions. They provide a website that has all the information about you that you want to share, your resume, your biography, your work experience, what you've done in the past in terms of politics, all those things. and have it readily available that's comparable, where you can do click this one, click that one, and compare features, advantages, and benefits, and boom, you're done. That would be a lot better than the free-for-all we have right now. So a voter information system is critical. Voting at home helps. It also helps if there are actual debates, forums. These are easier to do now in the age of Zoom. And anybody can broadcast from anywhere, just as I am here. So we can have all kinds of forums and debates and discussions, and it's very easy to do. One of the reasons I'm doing this now is to show that once I'm in Congress, I'll do the same thing every day. At the end of the day, I will go online, no matter how tired I am, no matter how late they ran in the middle of the night, and I will tell you what we discussed, what we voted on, what shocked me, what didn't, what I know, what I've learned, and ask for input and insight. That doesn't mean I have to sit here and be explained about everything that people don't want to do. All right, so mail-in ballots are great. We could probably do it with a full online system. That would be even better. There are ways to conduct elections securely online. We know this is a possibility. It can be done. We're just averse to it, and not everybody has digital access in our country because we are still a first world superpower pretending to be a third world with a third world infrastructure. What happens if there are too many candidates in a ranked choice system? I didn't really talk about this, but basically most people stop ranking people after a certain amount, or they just put them randomly there at the bottom, or they don't vote at all. And what happens if their first 4 or 5 people that they have ranked as their primaries don't ever show up in the top? That's called an exhausted ballot, and it's just too bad. Yeah, your vote got thrown away. So, do you like ranked choice voting? Do you think that would be an improvement over the system we have, where we only have one election, one time, nationwide, no more primaries, no more barnstorming across the country with this insanely expensive process for the presidential, for the various elections? Does that sound like something you'd like? Say yes or no in the comments. And secondly, there is the question of how often we vote. Right now in Ohio, we vote at least once a year. 1 year's for local, 1 year's for statewide and congressional, then local, then national. It goes round and round. Do we really need to vote this often? Do we need to vote consistent every year? Probably not. Do we need to have a standing workforce of people to manage this that are party people? Bob, go ahead and ask a question. You can't hammer away 3 times. So pose your question clearly and go clearly ask a question about elections and reforms. Okay? So, as to deleted, Mr. Miller, this is because some people are trying to get in here and make their own case. So, am I advocating for ranked choice voting because you're a pretty unlikable candidate in this town? Well, Mr. Miller, that's a matter of opinion. There are some people that like me. That's why I won the primary. There are some people that like me because they've read my blog since 2005. There are some people that like me because I stand up to the powers that be and question authority. That doesn't always mean you are going to be liked. It's not about being liked, really. Okay? Because truthfully, Mike Turner is not a very nice person. I know people that were his good friend before he ran for mayor. He stopped talking to them once he's elected. So being nice isn't it. Being liked isn't it. And as to whether you like me or not, that's really not the question. Am I going to vote against birth control for everybody or public health for everybody, a healthcare system for everybody? No. Is Mike Turner? Yes. What do you want? Do you really want somebody to go there and be all nice to all those jackasses in Congress that have sat there and done things like let Trump off for what he did? I mean, seriously, the man is guilty of starting an insurrection, and it's very clear that he was impeachable, and some of those people said, oh no, we don't need to impeach him. That's Mike Turner. He refused twice to impeach him. So, we're talking about ranked choice voting. Okay, so ask away. Don't talk about asking it. So, and it's a popular opinion. Well, it depends on who your friends are, I guess, EE. So, there you have it. Okay, how do we talk about making a change to the system for elections? And Mr. Miller, the problem with how I treat people, try running for office. This isn't easy. There's lots of people out there to shoot you. It sucks when they're on your side who just say, I don't like him, okay? Or want to spread mistruths and lies about me. So let's move on. So, in order to get ranked choice voting going and to solve some other problems we have, I set up 2 nonprofits a couple of years ago. One is called Reconstructing Dayton. It's a 501c4. It's reconstructingdayton.org. There, the goal is to move towards Unigov, to simplify things, to not have duplication of services, and to not have so many elections for small fiefdoms within Montgomery County. There are school districts with a superintendent and a treasurer for 400 people. That is unnecessary. 400 people is an elementary school. It doesn't require a superintendent, a treasurer, a board of education. There are cities with 6,000 people. Moraine, Oakwood. Very different. And the question is, what are you getting for that little tiny jurisdiction? And how much is the overhead of running that versus having countywide government? We've seen countywide government be very successful in every state and county in Florida, in North Carolina. We've seen it in Louisville. We've seen it in Indianapolis. We've seen it in Columbus. Cuyahoga County is moving in that direction as well. There is a need to eliminate too many elections and too many people running various little fiefdoms in Montgomery County. The second one is the Modern Policy Institute. This is a 501c3. There's a difference between a C3 and a C4. One can engage in political action up to 40% of its income. That's a C4. The other is not supposed to get involved in politics. The 501c3, the Modern Policy Institute, which is at modernpolicy.org, talks about ranked choice voting, voter information systems, strategies to get information to voters in a way that is easy, affordable, and workable. So, Bob, look, you're not adding anything to this conversation, so you can keep posting all you want, go one more, and you're out of here. There you go. Anyway, so that's my discussion about ranked choice voting. I hope it got you a little better informed. I hope that you support it. I hope you look into it more. There are others, like single transferable vote, where they do it when there are multiple candidates that need to be selected out of a pool. For instance, the Dayton City Commission might have, say, 10 candidates and they only need 2 in each cycle. There's a way to do that. There are variations on a theme, but basically it's to stop having to have election after election, which are expensive, confusing, and burdensome, and not all that effective when they can effectively be bought by the highest bidder. So, I will be back Monday, 4 o'clock. We do this Monday through Friday at 4 every time. You're welcome to come. I appreciate those of you that participate. It is my idea that this is a more effective way to reach out to voters and find out what's on their minds. Apparently, a whole bunch of Nick's friends want to talk about Nick. Nick can run for office and we'll be fine. I don't think Nick will be well received by the veteran population who he called names. I don't think Nick is a great person, and I don't really care because Nick's registered in Cuyahoga County. Are we clear? Let's be clear. Nick is not a voter here. And Nick has a personal grudge because he likes somebody who is a convicted felon who stole a lot of money. Are we clear? Thank you. There we go. You can find out all you want. All you have to do is go to Esrati.com and search for Jennifer Selhorst. Selhorst. Anyway, you might also wonder why Matt Heck didn't prosecute her where she stole large amounts of money from me, but did prosecute her where she stole from the other service-disabled veteran that I take care of, where he did find her guilty of 3 felonies, or maybe it was 4, and she paid him back the minor amount of money. So, I hope that answers your question, John and Bob and all the rest of you. Again, we're going to get off this subject. And John, none of that is true. You don't have a clue. Okay? Go look it up. Anyways, there is more information about my campaign at electesrati.com. If you'd like to donate, you can do it there. We will see you on Monday. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.